And shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone. These are people with absolutely no talent who are paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. It's really good to see them go, and I hope I played a major part in it. Oh, you delicate, chubby little teacup. Did we hurt your feelings? You want us to be canceled because we make jokes about you? I thought you were against cancel culture. I thought that was like their whole thing. When did you become so woke?
The irony cuts deeper than a late-night joke gone flat. Jimmy Kimmel's show may have been canceled, but instead of stepping back, he locks his sights on the man whose political spectacle has supplied endless comedy for nearly 10 years, President Donald Trump. What was meant to quiet Kimmel now becomes his megaphone. Every jab he delivers hits with the force of a prizefighter's punch. If Trump believed he could escape the glare of late-night ridicule, Kimmel just proved the roast doesn't need a stage, it only needs a target.
I don't necessarily feel like I'm defending democracy, but I do feel like I'm giving this guy a little poke, and he deserves it, and I enjoy it, and I love that people enjoy it too.
Jimmy Kimmel doesn't fade away quietly. He fires back. The cancellation of his show could have been the moment for a graceful farewell, a polished statement filled with thanks. Instead, Kimmel seized it as fresh ammunition against the one man who can't stomach mockery. The cancellation turned into a stage prop, and Trump became the clown fumbling the fallout. In its own way, it feels poetic. Kimmel may have lost airtime, but Trump lost dignity before the world.
Impossible. You can't turn him off. He won't power down. He's like Ultron. He just keeps going. Every day it's something crazier than the next. I made a list. This is all in the last 2 months. I made you a quick list. I will run through it. He paved over the Rose Garden. He's building a golden ballroom at the White House. He's planning a UFC fight at the White House. He cut off Kamala Harris's Secret Service protection. He named himself host of the Kennedy Center honors. He went to Alaska to bend over for Putin. He sent military tanks into Washington, D.C. He said the Smithsonian focuses too much on how bad slavery was.
What makes this strike especially savage is the timing. Trump, parading around as though every headline crowns him king, suddenly becomes the centerpiece of Kimmel's fiercest routine yet. No live crowd, no cue cards, no network gloss, just unfiltered fire aimed at a president who treats adoration like a constitutional right. It's the comedic version of yanking the rug from under someone mid-victory dance, leaving Trump stumbling like a reality TV star who just discovered the cameras never stopped rolling after the breakdown.
This morning, Trump warmed up for his date with the British press by yelling at a reporter from Australia who dared to ask about the billions of dollars he's been raking in since the election.
President Trump said a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Port Vaughan Program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much.
Kimmel hones in on the irony of Trump's image. Here's a man who built his empire on branding, stamping his name on towers, stakes, and doomed universities, only to end up as the punchline of the biggest branding fiasco in modern politics. Kimmel reminds us that while his own show may be over, its legacy remains intact. Trump's legacy, however, is etched in lawsuits, impeachments, and speeches that play like the world's longest blooper reel.
You're against cancel culture. I thought that was like their whole thing. When did you become so woke? Unfortunately for Frosty the Snowflake, the only place we are going is to New York. Once again, we are packing up our Hailey Bieber smoothies and headed to Brooklyn for a week of shows at BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, starting September 29th, ending October 3rd. And one of our guests that week, we have great guests lined up, will be my good friend Stephen Colbert. We have a lot to talk about.
The roast doesn't end there. It cuts straight into Trump's obsession with ratings. Nothing sparks his fury faster than numbers that don't favor him. Kimmel points out how even a canceled show managed to outtrend Trump's rallies, exposing the fragile ego tucked beneath that oversized suit jacket. Picture the humiliation. A late-night host without a platform still pulls more attention than a sitting president struggling to command a nation. It's the equivalent of losing a shouting match with a mime.
非常に傷つけており、彼らは私と仲良くしたいと思っている。ほら、あなたたちのリーダーがもうすぐ私に会いに来る。私は彼にあなたのことを話すつもりだ。あなたは非常に悪い口調で言った。どうぞジョン。彼はなんて告げ口屋なんだ。つまり、彼の首相に彼のことを話すつもりだ。私は彼に、あなたがひどいことを言ったと告げるつもりだ。あなたは大変なことになるだろう。彼は決断を下す必要がある。独裁者になりたいのか、それともただの嫌な奴になりたいのか。
Kimmel goes on to dismantle Trump's self-styled image as the people's champion. The contradiction couldn't be clearer. This is a man who drapes himself in the American flag while outsourcing his merchandise to factories overseas. Kimmel skewers that hypocrisy, casting Trump as a patriot for profit whose devotion never stretches beyond the bottom line. Even without a monologue desk, Kimmel delivers the punchline. Trump loves America the way a landlord loves a tenant's rent check, transactional, shallow, and always late. Then comes the brutal reminder of Trump's endless hunger for validation. Kimmel frames it perfectly. The most powerful man in the nation still whines like a contestant eliminated from The Bachelor. From obsessing over crowd sizes to retweeting praise from Twitter bots with usernames like Patriot Eagle 1776, Trump's appetite for applause is bottomless. Kimmel turns that need against him, mocking how, even in the White House, Trump performs like a Vegas lounge act begging for just one more encore. But the sharpest blow lands when Kimmel ties Trump's legacy to the entertainment world at large. Under Trump, politics hasn't been governance, it's been spectacle, a reality show spin-off that long overstayed its welcome. Kimmel lays out the parallel. Where reality TV feeds on chaos, Trump thrives on division. Where contestants cling to the spotlight, Trump clings to grievance. And while every show eventually gets canceled, Trump seems determined to drag his series past its expiration date, long after the audience has changed the channel.
There's a rumor making the rounds this weekend that Trump was dead because he hadn't been in front of a camera for a few days. That's how much he's in front of a camera. When we don't see him there, we assume he must be dead. And also he has mysterious bruising on his hand, which they tried to cover up with makeup. And this cover-up's even sloppier than the Epstein one. How can anyone...
The roast takes aim at Trump's fragile relationship with critics. Kimmel notes how Trump spends more energy lashing out at comedians than addressing real crises, as if late-night jokes were threats to national security. That obsession becomes comedy on its own. Picture a president who should be handling economic policy, but instead rage-watching monologues on YouTube at 3 a.m. Kimmel doesn't need a laugh track to underline the absurdity. Trump supplies it himself every time he spirals over a punchline. Kimmel cuts deeper by mocking Trump's obsession with revenge. The imagery is ruthless. Trump is the washed-up jock chasing old touchdowns while everyone else moved on to families, careers, and coherent vocabularies. The cancellation becomes the perfect metaphor. Kimmel suggests that while networks can end shows, history delivers its own brand of cancellation for Trump. This one isn't about airtime, it's about legacy. In Kimmel's framing, Trump's story won't be carved in monuments, but preserved in comedy reels, courtroom transcripts, and humiliating clips replayed until they harden into folklore. It's a cancellation no spin team can rewrite.
僕はイギリスにいます。いや、イギリスと呼ばないように注意しなければなりませんが、彼は耐え難いパディントンで、王室との公式訪問のためにイングランドにいます。ティータイムがゴルフと何の関係もないと知ったら彼はとても怒るでしょう。王室メンバーは明日、大統領夫妻を出迎えるとみられるが、賢い英国人らはすでに準備を進めている。レッドカーペットとまでは言わないが、トランプ氏と友人ジェフリー氏のキングコング級の写真だ。
From there, Kimmel shifts to the theme of credibility. He notes that while losing a show is just a professional setback, losing credibility is a permanent scar. Trump's record is riddled with contradictions, from vowing to drain the swamp while surrounding himself with career lobbyists to preaching fiscal responsibility while ballooning the national debt. Kimmel dismantles the inconsistency with surgical precision, casting Trump as a magician who keeps pulling scandals out of his hat long after the audience has figured out the trick. One of the harshest blows comes when Kimmel contrasts his own cancellation with Trump's war on fake news. Kimmel jokes that at least his show had real viewers, while Trump's audience is padded with bots and sycophants clapping on cue. The sting lands because it rings true. Trump's rallies aren't about ideas, but about spectacle, a traveling circus where the price of admission is blind loyalty. Kimmel doesn't need a stage to turn that into the joke of the century. Even the imagery he uses cuts deep. He paints Trump as a man forever auditioning for applause, but always missing his lines. Every appearance plays like a blooper reel in real time. Every policy rollout delivered like a stand-up routine that bombs. It's a comedy of errors elevated into national policy. And Kimmel ensures the audience never forgets Trump isn't just the punchline, he's the entire failed script.
Every day, he is definitely not dead.
How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead?
Now, watch this, because who's the only one smiling in that group? Yeah, that's right. Good old JD. He hears the words Trump dead, he lights up like a Christmas tree.
The takedown also zeroes in on Trump's inability to dodge accountability. Kimmel points to the endless stream of investigations and lawsuits circling him like vultures over a carcass. While Trump casts himself as the victim of witch hunts, Kimmel flips the script. If you keep attracting witches, maybe you're the cauldron. The punchline stings because it turns Trump's claims of victimhood into farce, the melodrama of a man allergic to responsibility. Perhaps the cruelest cut is the reminder of Trump's deepest fear: irrelevance. Kimmel underscores how Trump clings to headlines like oxygen, terrified of the day the spotlight shifts away. That's the irony Kimmel savors most. His own show may have been canceled, yet he remains part of the conversation. Trump, meanwhile, dreads the moment he becomes yesterday's news. For a man who equates attention with existence, that's the ultimate punchline. The roast builds to a crescendo as Kimmel turns Trump's brand against him. The man who marketed himself as the master dealmaker is remembered instead for government shutdowns, broken promises, and international gaffes that left allies wincing. Kimmel dismantles the mythology of Trump the businessman, reducing it to a pile of bankrupt casinos and a sham university that couldn't pass a community college syllabus. The empire of gold-plated letters is stripped bare, revealed as nothing more than gilded embarrassment.
トランプは今日、ニューヨークタイムズを訴えた初の大統領となった。彼はニューヨークタイムズを名誉毀損で150億ドルで訴えている。150億ドル。一体どこから彼の名前が出てくるんだ？これは私の子供がお金の話をするときにでっち上げた数字みたいだ。彼はニューヨークタイムズは破綻していると言っていたはずだ。彼はニューヨークタイムズには150億ドルあると思っているのだ。もし彼らがうまくやっていると彼が思っていたら、一体いくら訴訟を起こすだろうか？トランプ氏は今朝、この訴訟を発表した。彼はこう綴った。本日、私は、我が国しか見最悪かつ最も堕落した新聞社の一つであるニューヨークタイムズに対し、150億ドルの名誉毀損及び虚偽記載訴訟を起こすという栄誉に抑しました。タイムズは、皆さんのお気に入りの大統領、私の家業、アメリカ第一運動、マガ、そして我が国全体について、何十年にもわ
Kimmel doesn't even have to exaggerate the facts. The facts write the comedy for him. Trump's presidency is ready-made satire, overflowing with contradictions, rash decisions, and blunders so constant they feel scripted. Every headline reads like parody. Every press conference plays like an unrehearsed skit gone off the rails. Kimmel doesn't invent. He arranges the chaos into a storyline sharper than anything a television executive could pitch. It's not fabrication, it's curation. A collage of Trump's missteps presented for maximum impact. The contradictions hit hardest because they aren't fiction. They're promises that vanish before delivery. Then come the gaffes, those unscripted slip-ups that outlast the speeches themselves. A president who bragged of strength repeatedly tripped over basic facts, geography, and even his own narratives. Kimmel seizes on those stumbles, showing how a single slip of the tongue can reveal more truth than 1,000 rehearsed lines. each blunder becomes another clip in the blooper reel, a running commentary on how incompetence can broadcast itself in high definition. The comedy doesn't rely on exaggeration, it thrives on watching a leader stumble through sentences like an amateur comic bombing at open mic night.
The other thing everyone kept asking me about over the summer is if I'm moving to Italy. As I mentioned on the Sarah Silverman podcast that I got dual citizenship through my mother, who has Italian citizenship, and oh man, the MAGA gang went nuts.
Late-night comedian Jimmy Kimmel confirming he has obtained Italian citizenship.
Jimmy Kimmel's so scared he's drafting an escape plan.
We could see Jimmy Kimmel evidently leave sometime soon. He would say ciao.
How is he Italian? There's no way he's Italian.
You know, I didn't realize he was Italian.
I didn't know he was Italian. I'm kind of disappointed.
It's like, okay, Italy's great, but also there's not a lot of air conditioning or ice, so go for it.
Yeah, good luck.
The unintentional self-parody is where Kimmel's roast cuts the deepest. Trump often embodied the very traits he mocked in others, acting out the caricatures he once ridiculed. He branded opponents as weak, yet spent hours raging over late-night monologues. He mocked leaders as indecisive, yet flipped his own positions within days. Kimmel weaves these contradictions together into the portrait of a man whose fiercest opponent has always been his own reflection. It's a cycle of projection and collapse comedy, born from a loop of self-inflicted wounds. By flipping the script, Kimmel proves that cancellation doesn't silence a voice, it amplifies it. The lingering irony lies in Trump's obsession with winning. For him, victory is measured in applause, headlines, and an iron grip on the spotlight. Yet the louder he boasts of triumph, the clearer his insecurities become. Kimmel sharpens that paradox. The man who insists he's invincible is remembered most for fragile meltdowns, desperate bragging, and a legacy defined more by memes than milestones. The louder Trump shouts, the easier it becomes for comedians to spin his noise into punchlines.
And our nation as a whole, the New York Times has been allowed to freely lie, smear, and defame me for far too long, and that stops now. And then he follows it with, this suit is being brought in the great state of Florida. Uh-oh. And will be heard by Judge Dog the Bounty Hunter, my new appointee. Trump is, he won't win this. And the New York Times won't settle. Trump says the Times is run by a bunch of lefties. He claims they're a mouthpiece for the Democrats. And I have to say, I did do today's Wordle, and I don't know if you...
Kimmel's cancellation turns into a badge of honor, precisely because it fuels his roast. Losing a stage doesn't weaken him, it proves his comedy thrives in any format. Without the confines of time slots, sponsors, or networks sanding down the edges, he's free to unleash a sharper, unfiltered takedown of a president whose every move begs to be ridiculed. What looks like a setback becomes liberation. Trump, on the other hand, becomes the parody he can't outrun. His greatest accomplishment isn't policy, negotiation, or reform. It's serving as an endless fountain of material for comedians. Kimmel doesn't need to invent characters. Trump hands them over. He doesn't have to imagine absurd scenarios. Trump lives them. The self-parody is so relentless that even his attempts at seriousness collapse into comedy. In trying to control the story, Trump guarantees he remains the punchline. The humiliation cuts deeper because Trump can't outlast this ridicule. Shows get canceled, networks move on, but mockery lingers. Once laughter stains a legacy, it doesn't fade. It multiplies. Kimmel's roast ensures Trump's story won't be remembered in grandeur, but in punchlines, replayed across late-night reruns, viral clips, and the permanent archive of history. The cancellation meant to silence a critic instead amplified the one truth Trump fears most. His power may expire, but the ridicule never will.